Alright everyone, Friday night in front of an electoral map. This is my new prediction, and I might even make like two more of these from now until election day. But if you notice, it's actually kind of a significant change. I flipped Iowa and Florida, putting Obama at 332 electoral votes to Mitt Romney's 206, with unemployment at 8%. I can't even believe it, but a few things have happened in the race that have changed the dynamics of it since I made my last video, which, by the way, was uploaded days before Paul Ryan was announced as Mitt Romney's running mate. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that first. I think he's an idiot for making that pick because, as we all know, Mitt Romney needs to lock up Florida. He cannot win this election unless he wins Florida. If you don't believe me, let me show you what happens when Obama wins Florida, as I have shown here. Mitt Romney could pick up the states of Virginia, Ohio, Wisconsin, Iowa, Colorado, and Nevada and still lose the election. Now, we all know that this map is not going to happen. And of course, why is Paul Ryan hurting his chances in Florida? Because Medicare is a big issue. And last spring, when Paul Ryan's plan was developed, polling was done that showed only a third of Americans, about 33%, support privatizing Medicare, or having any form of private Medicare, the voucher system. And I think that's high, one third. But you will not convince the majority of voters that privatizing is the way to go in the weeks leading up to the election. So, if Mitt Romney were playing conservatively, so to speak, he should have gone with someone, or, orchestrated his campaign in a way that he could lock up Florida. He hasn't done that. Now, I thought it was a genius move for Republicans to hold their convention in the bellwether county of a huge toss-up state where the stakes are high. But even that is not going to help them because polls are showing that Obama is now polling ahead in Florida, and I think a lot of it is due to what Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney plan to do to Medicare. And they're making up this lie that Obama has raided Medicare of over $700 billion. It's just not true. People aren't falling for it. So, Florida is where he is geographically less, well off, as a result of picking Paul Ryan. Now, people think now that he is gonna be able to make Wisconsin a little closer, perhaps win it. I don't think it's gonna happen. In fact, polls are showing now Obama's coming back up in Wisconsin. It did get close, but Paul Ryan is not going to win the state of Wisconsin for Mitt Romney. I thought originally, actually, that geographically he would benefit in Iowa because voters seemed really responsive to Paul Ryan there. But now, and another thing I hadn't mentioned in my last video was that the drought, negatively affected a lot of people in Iowa, and by no fault of any politician, made them, economically struggling more so than they probably already were. And they would take that out on the incumbent. But polls are showing that Obama's pulling ahead there, and it's because of the second thing I'm going to talk about, the conventions. Now, we all know that the Democrats won the convention game, okay? Theirs was a lot more energizing, it got better ratings, okay? And its ratings were actually similar to the ratings they had in 2008, which is unbelievable because 2008 was such a big deal, but only 10% fewer people watched Barack Obama's speech in Charlotte. And that speech has been, I think it was responsible for really boosting him up. This bounce that people are talking about, it's really not a bounce because it keeps going, okay? Since the Democratic National Convention, 21 polls have been done in 10 swing states. And I want to say the 10 swing states are Ohio, Virginia, Florida, Pennsylvania. They're not. I don't consider all of these swing states, but whatever. Iowa, Michigan, Nevada, Colorado, and maybe one or two others. But he's led in all 21 of those polls, like by a significant margin. So, the convention obviously helped the Democrats. Mitt Romney didn't benefit from his. However, I don't think that's going to. What I think it did ultimately was states where Obama pretty much had, like Michigan and Pennsylvania, he now has locked up as a result of the convention. He did not pick up any new states. I flipped Iowa and Florida, but those were never really in anyone's column. Those are toss-up states, so I think they're now slightly in favor of Obama. Another thing that happened, the leaked video of Mitt Romney insulting 150 million people, that happened. And, I didn't realize how big of a deal it was until I noticed that they held like a damage control press conference, and I think that spoke volumes to how severe they thought it was going to be, and it really has been severe because he's just wrong. He's just wrong, and it's a whole separate video. I could go on, but they're just, I don't know how else to put it. It's just the 47% of people who fall in that category of not paying income tax are not freeloaders. Um, and in fact, a lot of the states where like the highest non-payers of income tax are Mitt Romney territory. It's Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas. Like those are the non-paying income tax states. Now granted, there's a lot of red states that are the highest income tax paying states, but um, at the same time, he really did include a lot of people who vote for him, and it was just a stupid thing to say. And yes, it has hurt him in the polls. But state by state, I want to talk about a few things. Pennsylvania, I had not talked about in my last video, the voter suppression. If you're not familiar, over 700,000 Pennsylvanians being required to find 4 pieces of documentation to get processed for like $20 at the DMV to, authenticate themselves and make it so that they can vote. And they explicitly stated, some prick said that they're going to do it so that Mitt Romney can win the election. And yeah, that's exactly what they're doing for him out there in the great Commonwealth. But I don't think it's going to work. In fact, I read yesterday that a common sense judge might be striking it down. But they have a ground game going to register voters, and the state is reliably blue enough to, I think, combat the voter suppression. So expect Pennsylvania to go blue still, regardless of the stupid voter ID stuff. Virginia, Virgil Good is on the ballot, and if you don't know who he is, he's a loser from the Constitution Party, and thousands of conservative votes that would have gone for Mitt Romney are going to go for him. I think that's putting Obama over the edge, kind of like I talked about with Gary Johnson in New Mexico in my last video. A few other things. I talked about Florida a little bit, but like I said, I just think that Paul Ryan's really hurting Mitt Romney down there, and it's a toss-up state, and when things swing better for one candidate like they are right now for Obama, I mean, those toss-up states are going to kind of sway one way or another. And even a few days ago, I would not have said, probably before the 47% comments came out, I would not have said Florida would go for Obama because I just can't believe he would win 332 electoral votes when the economy is in this shape, And like I said, that's your opinion, that's your call on whether, his approach has failed us or if we're improving. But, I mean, people have every right to feel like we haven't come far enough on the economy, and I thought it was really going to hurt Obama. I think like as early as January and February, I was saying if unemployment is lower than 8%, he'll win. If it's higher than 8%, he'll lose. But now I think it's probably going to be 8% on election day, and he will win. Few other states I want to talk about, and not much has changed. I talked about Iowa already a little bit. Um, some of the interesting ones, the oddballs here, Missouri. After those Todd Akin comments, now I give Obama like a 10% chance of winning Missouri right now. Because after those Todd Akin comments, a Rasmussen poll actually came out showing that Obama was up 1 point. Now the only way he could win is if a wave of like female support for Claire McCaskill comes that were otherwise going to be apathetic toward the election. So probably not going to happen. Same with North Carolina. In fact, North Carolina is doing really bad. In polls there. So Georgia though, Georgia is kind of interesting because it's going to go for Romney. I'm not saying it's going to go for Obama, but look for Georgia in like 12 years. It might be a blue state. Polls are showing it more competitive. New Mexico, as I suspected, not a swing state at all. Obama up double digits there. Expect though, I'm going to call it right now, the closest state in this election is going to be Colorado. Colorado will have the like slimmest margin of victory, and it could go either way at this point. I have it going for Obama just as a gut feeling, but and the fact that they have a superior ground game there, but it's going to be close. Mitt Romney's been making a comeback now for over a month. So that is all I have to say. This is my update as of Friday, September 21st. How many days now until the election? I think like 45, 46. Yeah. Unless something really bad happens with the economy, I think we all recognize that Obama's got this presidential race locked up. The Senate race also, Senate races I should say collectively, Democrats are now favored to retain control of the Senate. I don't know if that's a result of the convention or what, but it's been good news for Democrats, and that's, we still have a long time to go. I think Obama is going to do better than Mitt Romney in the debates. But, I mean, John McCain was leading in polls this time of year in 2008, believe it or not. So, you just never know what's going to happen on Wall Street and how that could affect the economy and, well, ultimately the presidential election. So, but if it were held today, no doubt who would win. That's all I'm saying. Have an awesome day, everyone. Thanks for watching, and yeah, bye-bye.